Hey, what's up, Life Masters? This is Stefan James from Project Life Mastery. Today we're going to talk about how to overcome destructive habits and behaviors in your life. Now, we all have habits and behaviors that we indulge in that are disempowering to our lives. They're eroding away your potential. They're preventing you from being the person you want to be and having the life that you want to have. And we want to stop that. We want to change and overcome that what is stopping us and preventing us from having the life that we want to have. And we want to replace that with something new, with a habit, a behavior that's more sustainable long term, that will allow us to have the pleasure, the satisfaction, the pride, the self-esteem, the self-love, the self-respect, the confidence, the joy, the happiness, and what we want long-term in our lives. Now, here's the thing. Here's how you can identify whether or not a habit, a behavior, a decision that you make, whether it's disempowering to your life or whether it's empowering. It's asking yourself, how do I feel after I do it? How do you feel about yourself, your self-esteem, your confidence, your joy, your life, after you indulge in this habit or this behavior? So here's the thing. Most habits and behaviors that are destructive, they feel good in the moment. In the moment, you're doing it for the instant gratification, the pleasure that it provides for you. It feels like you're giving yourself a gift. I mean, when you have junk food, for example, it feels good. It feels good to stuff yourself with sugar and fat, all your favorite foods, ice cream, donuts, pizza, hamburgers, whatever it might be. It feels great. You're giving yourself a lot of pleasure. It might feel like you're giving yourself a gift. You're receiving comfort, connection with yourself. In some cases, it could be a way to distract yourself, a way to escape the difficulties of your life and of the day, the stresses, the anxiety, the challenges, the boredom, the emotions that arise within you that you're not comfortable with, that you haven't resolved, the inner conflicts. It's a lot easier than resolving that than just to give yourself pleasure and gratification in the moment. In the moment, it makes you feel good, but you got to ask yourself, how do you feel afterwards? After you eat the junk food and stuff yourself and binge eat and overeat, how do you feel? How do you feel about yourself? Does your self-esteem, does it go up or does it go down? Does your confidence, does it go up? Does it go down? Does your self-love go up or does it go down? And when you stack that long term, you got to ask yourself, what's the consequence? Now, you can do anything in the moment, and it's fine. It's, everything in moderation. And I'm not saying you can't eat junk food once in a while, but it's the habit of that. When you make that habitual and you stack that and you're doing that every few days or every day, what will that do to your life? What's that consequence? And we both know the answer. If you're eating junk food every single day or, a few times a week, long term, what's that going to do to your happiness, to your health, to your body, your vibrancy, your vitality, your radiance? Long term, the consequence might be you'll get overweight. And when you're overweight, you're feeding a negative cycle now where your self-esteem, your confidence is so low, it's a lot harder to get out of that. Most often when you don't feel good about yourself, you're more likely to feel depressed. And when you're depressed, you're digging yourself this hole that's hard to get out of. So, on the other hand, when you think about the alternative, in any moment you have a decision that you can make that's disempowering or empowering, and if you make the empowering choice, in the moment it can feel uncomfortable or hard or difficult to do it. To contrast with the junk food, let's say that you decide to have a salad or a green juice, or to go to the gym. To do that in the moment, it doesn't feel as good. It's hard to compare the two. I mean, how can you compare the pleasure that you can get from all that junk food, going to the gym or, eating a healthy salad? You can't necessarily compare the two, but even though that might not give you as much pleasure in the moment, you got to ask yourself, how do I feel after that? So when you go to the gym, in the moment, it might be painful, it requires willpower, discipline, discomfort. You got to get off your ass. You got to lift weights and you got to get, challenge your body and break down your body in ways and push yourself and sweat and all the things that you go through that can be uncomfortable, not for everybody. I get pleasure out of going to the gym and taking care of my body. But afterwards, how do you feel? Your self-esteem goes up. Your confidence goes up. You feel good about yourself. And when you feel good about yourself, you're more likely to do good. You're more likely to feel happier about your life. And now you're creating a more empowering cycle where you're going to indulge in more positive habits and behaviors because the momentum you get from that. And actually over a period of time, I believe, and it's been my experience, you actually experience joy and satisfaction and pleasure out of going to the gym and eating salads and feeding your body with nutrition and fuel that you know is doing the body good. Because we all know deep down inside what's right and wrong. We have a moral compass. And whenever you do something that's right, something that's empowering for you, that you know deep down inside, it's good for you, it's good for your future, it's good for the present and the future, you're gonna feel good about yourself. But when you do something that's not good, that you know deep down inside, it was wrong, you violated your rule, your belief, your value, whether it was health and vitality or a discipline or a goal that you might have, again, you're not gonna feel good about yourself. So how do we change this? How do we change these habits? And by the way, the habits is a long list that are disempowering. It might be overeating, binge eating. I've been through that in my life. It was a very challenging thing to go through. But it could be many other things. I mean, the disempowering habits that we can have are negative thinking, complaining, always looking for the bad, always looking for the negative, a skeptical mindset and attitude. You gotta ask yourself, what's the long-term consequence of that? Your happiness, your joy, your relationships, your spiritual life, everything is gonna have a consequence, whether that consequence is bad and disempowering or whether it's a good one. It could be watching pornography, masturbation. In the moment, it can feel great, but long-term, what is that doing? What is that doing to your ability to connect and have intimacy with a man or woman? What's that doing to your ability to feel motivated in your life and have energy and be excited and passionate about your life? What is that consequence to your relationship and your attraction level to your partner, to the opposite sex? There's a consequence to that long-term that you got to think about. Or maybe it might be sitting around all day being lazy, procrastinating, which feels good. To sit around and play video games or watch TV or to watch movies or to sit around and watch YouTube videos all day and spend hours of your life just living in this fantasy world. Escaping from reality because you might not necessarily feel good about your life or what's going on, and so it's a lot easier just to escape that. Again, what's the long-term consequence of doing that again and again and again? Or maybe just, scrolling through Facebook or Instagram, and going through that as a negative habit and addiction. And everything can be done in moderation, but I want to make the distinction of what something can do when it's habitual in your life, when you're doing it from the wrong place, when you're doing it from a place of trying to escape and distract yourself, which instead of getting to the root cause and resolving that, the inner conflict within yourself, if you're doing it for the wrong reasons and you're going to these things to escape, then if you don't resolve what's going on within you that's uncomfortable, that you're not happy with, then you're just avoiding it altogether, and it gets worse. And it gets worse and worse and worse until finally, eventually, you're gonna maybe feel enough pain that you'll do something about it. So we wanna make sure, I wanna make sure I make that distinction of what's disempowering and empowering, and to understand this, because really the first step in changing anything in your life is awareness. Awareness, guys, is one of the most valuable character traits and skills that you can have. Being aware of your behaviors, your patterns, whether it is disempowering or whether it is empowering. See, a lot of people, they have blind spots. They're not aware of the things that they're doing as disempowering in their life. And most often, they don't want to admit to it. Because most often, a lot of people, they want to convince themselves that by doing this, it's okay. By doing this, they rationalize it in some way and justify it where it's okay to do so, but that's really because they don't want to admit to themselves that this is destructive, that this is actually holding them back and preventing them. They're trying to be attached to this behavior and pattern because they're afraid of giving it up. They're afraid of the benefits that you get from it. You're afraid of the loss of connection or comfort or whatever it is. People have fear over that, and so they don't want to really face it. They don't want to get to the truth. And anytime you want to change anything, you have to get to the truth. You have to be honest with yourself. You have to look yourself in the mirror and admit to yourself, give yourself the cold, hard truth. Is doing this good for me or not? Only you can tell yourself and know the answer. Other people might see it. There's plenty of people, for example, that struggle with addiction to alcohol, to drugs, to pornography, or whatever it might be, junk food, but they don't see it as a problem. They don't have that awareness, even though everyone else can see it. It's obvious, it's evident. They don't want to admit it. They rationalize and say, oh, it's not that bad. I have control. I can change any time that I want. I'll do so later. I'm still young. Whatever it is, that's the dangerous place that prevents people from making any change in their life. It's a lack of awareness. It's lying to themselves. And the reason why they don't want to tell themselves the truth and be honest is because it doesn't feel good. It means pain. I mean, it doesn't feel good to admit to yourself that you're addicted to something. It doesn't feel good to admit to yourself that you have this flaw or this weakness. But if you have the courage to do so, and you can be honest with yourself, that's when everything can change. You've got to have that courage and the strength. The truth will set you free. If you get to the truth, you can change anything in your life. And that's always step number one. We all know someone that they have no awareness of what their challenge might be. Whether it might be someone, for example, that, likes to talk too much. They don't listen to anyone else, or maybe it's a selfish pattern they might have. And, you might be talking to that person. They don't have awareness of it. They're so self-absorbed within themselves. They can't identify, no, I'm talking too much. I should ask this person questions. I should engage in a back and forth conversation with this person. We all know people that are like that don't have awareness of it. People that have these challenges or difficulties, but they don't want to admit it. And you got to make sure you're not deluding yourself in that way. That's step number one. Honesty, pure honesty, courage, having awareness, being able to look at yourself, your life, how you're living, truly asking yourself, is this good for me or not? Is this disempowering for my life, or is it empowering? That is always the first thing. The second thing you got to do is you have to link a consequence and associate to the consequence of what this negative, disempowering habit or behavior is doing for your life. You got to ask yourself, what is this costing me in my life? What is the consequence? And you got to be honest with yourself about that. So most often, here's the way I think. You have two choices, two paths that you can take. You can make the choice, the decision to indulge in this negative, disempowering habit, which is going to take you down one path. And you got to ask yourself, what will that path be? Or you can do what's right, what's good for you, the opposite of that, or something that's more empowering and sustainable. And you got to ask yourself, what is the consequence of that? What direction will that take me in my life? So you have two paths. You got to decide which one that you want to take. So let's take, for example, eating junk food, binge eating. The path that will take you down is one of lower energy, of dis-ease in your body, which could potentially lead to having heart disease, cancer, diabetes, can lead you to being overweight and not feeling good about yourself. When you look yourself in the mirror and you put on clothes each day, you don't feel good about the reflection staring back at you. You don't feel good about how you look and how you look in clothes, and you avoid the mirrors because of that. It can lead to less self-esteem and confidence in yourself. It can lead to the negative consequence of maybe your partner not being as attracted to you as they once were. Or if you're single, you're trying to attract someone, you want to attract someone that's amazing and beautiful and an attractive person, but you don't feel good about yourself. You don't feel that you're attractive, and you're going to put that out there. You're not going to be able to attract people in the same way when you don't feel good about yourself. You're not going to be able to attract that what you want. You're not going to have the energy to pursue your goals and your dreams. So you think about the consequence. You explore what that path will take you down, and you contemplate it. And here's what I do. I exaggerate it. I make it the worst thing that I possibly can. I think about, oh my God, if I live my life this way, it's going to lead to destruction in my life. It's going to lead to me losing everything that I want. I'm going to lose the person that I love the most, which is Tatiana. And I'm going to lose that incredible relationship that I have because I'm not going to feel good about myself. She's not going to be as attracted to me. And she deserves better than that. She deserves me being at my best. Or, financially, I'm going to lose money in my business because if I continue down this path of eating this way and living this way, I'm going to gain weight, and I'm going to have to deal with disease and challenges financially, and I'm going to have to find ways to spend my money to overcome. I might not be able to fulfill my mission and my potential in my life. I might not be able to put out videos and content and share and give and do that what I want to do because you guys might not respect me as much, or I'm not going to be the leader or the role model that I want to be. I'm not going to have the energy. I'm going to, be sitting around all day just, eating junk food and not be pursuing my goals and my dreams, and that's going to reflect poorly on me as a leader and an example in this world that I want to be. So I exaggerate it. I make it the worst possible case. I'm going to die young, all that stuff. I make it worse because the purpose of that is to link pain, to create a severe enough consequence where your brain is like, you know what, that's not even an option for me anymore. Okay? Now, you also think about the consequence of doing what is right. So, on the other hand, it's going to the gym, it's taking good care of my health, my body, my well-being. What's the consequence of that? If I take that path, what will that lead to? If you future pace and think 5 years, 10 years in the future, what will that do for your life? Well, I can already think, man, by doing that, going to the gym consistently, eating healthy, my self-esteem will go up. I'll feel great about myself. I'll have more energy because of that. More energy, not just physically, but you get this emotional energy. You get this emotional drive. You get this momentum in your life where you feel good about yourself. And when you feel good, I know that's going to translate to every other aspect of my life. I'm going to do better in my business, my relationship. When I show up and I hang out with Tatiana and I look good and I feel good and my self-esteem is high and my confidence is high, then she's going to benefit from that too. Everyone else in my life will benefit because I'm living my life at a higher version of myself. You know, I'm going to have more energy to make more money, to put out more content, to be able to serve you guys and grow my business and make an impact. And other people will look up to and respect that and see me as a leader and role model because I'm walking my talk. I'm congruent with what I say and how I live. And so I think all the great benefits and pleasure. Okay, so that would be step number 2. You think about the consequence, you contemplate each path, the negatives of continuing to live that way, the pleasure, the incredible benefits that you get. Because again, we want to link in our mind pain to the negative, disempowering habit, pleasure to the new, more empowering one. Okay, that's really important. It's really important that you really take the time to do that. And sometimes you fall off track. Sometimes you get distracted. I get that, but it's always reminding yourself of that. Really what this is finding a why and a purpose for taking good care of yourself and a purpose and a reason why to not continue to indulge in this pattern or this behavior. Now, the next thing that I love to do is the way you create a habit is you set, I like to, for example, do like a 30-day challenge to challenge myself. You know what? This is the new empowering habit that I want to replace this negative old one with. Because whenever you try to change something, you've got to replace it with something more empowering. Because if you don't, it opens up a void and something else is going to show up that's disempowering. For example, a lot of people, they smoke cigarettes, they stop, but because they didn't replace the benefits they got from smoking cigarettes with something more empowering, they replace smoking cigarettes with eating junk food. Or they replace smoking cigarettes with drinking alcohol. They look for something else to give them that short-term gratification and pleasure because they weren't conscious about what they're going to replace that with that can fulfill them in the moment and long-term. So you got to think about what is something you could do instead that can give you maybe whatever it was you're getting from that disempowering habit. So maybe, for example, it was comfort connection. Maybe it was, maybe what you're getting from that is giving yourself a gift and giving yourself a form of pleasure. Well, there's many other things that you can do to give yourself that. For me, for example, I look at going to the gym as an act of self-love. I look at every time I go to the gym, every time I put something healthy into my body, I'm fueling my body. I'm not just satisfying an appetite. I'm taking good care of myself. I'm giving myself love and a gift, really the ultimate gift that is showing actually respect and love for my Creator, God, that has given me this incredible gift. And I don't want to just waste that away. I want to honor what has been given to me and take good care of it. This is my temple. I want to nurture it. And by doing so, I get pleasure from that. I get pride and self-esteem and confidence from that. And so I can, for example, replace eating junk food and indulging that with going to the gym and eating healthy salads and healthy foods that are nurturing for me. And I get pleasure from that that's replacing what I was getting from over here. Does that make sense? So you got to replace it with something more empowering. You got to think about how it can give you that more empowering, and then you make it a habit by doing a challenge. A 30-day challenge is what I love to do. So I'll say to myself, okay, this is the new habit or behavior that I want to build. I'm going to commit to it every day for 30 days. You could do longer than that, but the thing that I find is when you make something too big in your mind, it becomes too overwhelming and you're not going to do it. So for example, I'm not sure if you know about, the 12-step program. There's Alcoholics Anonymous and Narcotics Anonymous. There's groups, Binge Eating Anonymous and all this sort of stuff that they have a 12-step program and highly worth studying and getting into. I've done 12 steps just for self-development purposes, not necessarily to overcome an addiction, but because the 12 steps, it's worth looking into, but it leads to a more spiritual life. It leads to a life of honesty and integrity and feeling great about yourself. And so there's a lot of paths that can allow you to help that. But one thing they talk about is you never want to say to yourself that I'll never do this again. I'll never again eat junk food. I'll never again watch pornography. I'll never again do this or that, because that is such a daunting thing in your mind. It's so overwhelming for us that it's impossible. It's hard to say to yourself that you'll never again do something. So instead you take the approach of one day at a time. This is kind of like the motto of AA. One day at a time. As long as I just get through today, that's all that matters. And then today you say the same thing. How can I get through this day? And then take it one day after the next, after the next, after the next. That is more sustainable. It's a more you can grasp your mind, I guess, around that a lot more than just saying forever. Okay, I'm never going to do this ever again. So one day at a time. That's an important thing. So I like doing like a 30-day challenge because your brain can actually wrap your head around that. You could do anything for 30 days and commit to it doing 30 days, okay? And most often the hardest part about developing habit is right at the beginning. That's when it requires the most discipline and willpower. But once you get past that, it becomes a lot easier. It's almost like a rocket going into space. When it's just trying to get outside the Earth's atmosphere, it's going to require 80% of its fuel. But afterwards, it doesn't require as much. Doesn't require as much energy. It's the same thing with the new habit. At the beginning, it's going to require a lot of energy, a lot of fuel. But afterwards, it doesn't require as much. It's automatic. It's habitual in your life. So 30 days is a great amount of time to do that. I also love getting accountability. Because if you're just accountable to yourself, you can easily back out of it. If you can get an accountability buddy, someone that's on the same path as you are, they want to develop the same habit or pattern. You hold each other accountable every day. You get on a quick phone call with them. You check in with each other on a daily basis. Maybe it's getting a coach or a mentor. Maybe it's getting a sponsor. When you go to these, these meetings and whatnot for AA or whatever it might be, there's people there that can help you and be your mentor and your sponsor to be your form of accountability. So I think we all need that. Maybe it's posting inside a Facebook group and committing to a group of people and saying, this is what I'm going to do for the next 30 days. And I'm going to update this Facebook post in this group every single day for the next 30 days to share and journal. Is to share whether I did it or I didn't do it. Or maybe there's other apps that can help you with that as well. But I believe in having accountability because when you're accountable to someone else, you're less likely to back out. You're more likely to do it. And as long as you get past that first 30 days, I think you'll notice and find that it'll get a lot easier for you to maintain that habit and continue to build it up long term. So that's the process that I go. That is a simple process that you can do. First is have awareness. Second is link the consequence of continuing down the destructive path, and then the consequence of the alternative, the second path of the more empowering habit that you want to cultivate in your life. You got to know what the new habit is. You got to commit to a 30-day challenge. Every single day, you're going to do it no matter what. It's going to be tough at the beginning, but once you get past that, you're going to be free. Once you get past that, you're going to experience so many incredible benefits of what that could do for your life. And one of my favorite ways to develop new habits is through a morning ritual. Every single morning I wake up, I develop these habits because in the morning is when your willpower is the highest. In the morning, you feel the best about yourself. You're the most refreshed. You have the most energy. So I like to try to really cultivate in the morning those habits the most. But you also have to be aware of throughout the day as well and when those negative habits can show up so that you can be aware of what your triggers and patterns are so you can avoid them and make sure, again, you replace it with what is going to lead you to the life you want. So I've been talking long enough. Hopefully this has been helpful for you guys, but I really wanted to do a video like this for you just to remind you of these things. I know you already know it, but I want to remind you that You can change anything you want in your life. You can change any habit, any pattern. It might feel like you've tried it so many times before to overcome these things, but you got to understand, just because it didn't work out in the past, even though you tried many times before, does not mean that that is going to guarantee what will happen again in the future. I believe one of the best ways to overcome whatever it is that you're going through, find other people that have been through what you've been through, they've overcome it, and have them be your inspiration, your role model, because if they did it, that's proof that you can do it as well. And there's countless examples of that, no matter what it is you're going through right now, whether it's addiction to alcohol, drugs, technology, negative thinking, complaining, junk food, binge eating, pornography, whatever it is. There are people out there that have overcome it, and you can learn from them. They can be your inspiration. They're proof that you can do it as well. So don't give up. Don't give up. Always come back to this. Go through this process again and again. You're going to fall off track, but that's okay. Don't be hard on yourself. Look at your progress that you've made more than beating yourself up, because you have to learn how to forgive yourself too, not always beat yourself up when you didn't, do everything perfectly all the time. The goal is not perfection, it's progress. So I wanted to share that with you guys today. Hopefully you guys benefited from and enjoyed this video. If you did, please give this a thumbs up here on YouTube. Subscribe for more videos here on Project Life Mastery that goes more into self-development, building a business, creating your life that you want. It's all here for you here on Project Life Mastery. Subscribe for more and leave a comment below. Leave a comment and share what's been working for you or what's been your struggle. Because I believe if you comment below and everybody kind of shares things that maybe help them by developing their new habits, then that can benefit everybody here and is something that will help everyone. So leave a comment below, share something you've been doing or something you want to commit to, make a declaration, make a commitment so that you can be more accountable to it. So thank you guys so much. Have an amazing day. Talk to you again soon.